It was Rene Descartes, one of the first Western minds, non-meditative mind, not an enlightened man, to say that mind is not physical. He called it the mind-body problem. Body does not generate consciousness. Consciousness is a quality of the mind. Mind that is non-physical. Now the question is, how does something non-material, so subtle, see, the moment you say it is non-physical, you have to put it in a completely different category. You have to accept that it is something we do not understand. Mind is one such phenomenon. Mind cannot be understood objectively. When you try to study the mind objectively, you attach it to the body. Oh, it's happening in the body. And then all these theories help us to settle with that idea. More complex an organism, more complex the associations between different things that are happening in the mind, higher the consciousness. But in actuality, when all the contents of the mind are removed, when thoughts are removed, when the agitation, the disturbance in the ocean of consciousness is removed, when the waves are removed, that is when you can actually experience what consciousness is. You will know that consciousness is totally independent of the body. Body actually blocks our ability to experience this consciousness in its totality. That's why Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. What science is saying, what our objective experimentation is saying is, I am because I think. What Rene Descartes said was the exact opposite. I think, therefore I am. It is because I am able to think. If I am not there, how can I think? Now, the problem of consciousness is the problem of this I amness. Now, where does this I amness come from? It is the most mysterious of things. It is one thing for something to exist. It is an altogether different matter for that something to know that it exists. These are two completely different things. Everything we have tried to define about the nature of reality is about why things exist. We have not answered the question, why should this something that exists know that it exists? There is absolutely no reason for this doubling of inward perception. It is not to be aware of something that is happening on the outside. That is the work of the senses. It is not hard to explain why we perceive things. We can define it very precisely, scientifically. We can see it as an interaction between light and the physicality of the body and how we move in this space. But what we cannot explain is, why do I know that I am? It is not just that I am. If I just am, there is no problem. consciousness can be dismissed as a delusion, a glitch, something that we perceive because we are thinking creatures. If only we simply are. But we are not only there, we also know we are there. And we know this at all times. We are never disconnected from this knowing. Now that's where you need to start. This self-awareness, is it coming and going, or are things being added in front of me which is distracting my pure awareness of myself? The question is, am I coming and going, or am I switching my awareness between thoughts and my being? Now, this is a question that can be answered. You are never coming and going. Think about it. If you were to be coming and going, then every time you go and come back, all your memories would be erased. Because that's what going out of something actually means. You have lost touch with what's happening on the inside. Imagine you're living in a house. You've lived there all your life. You know nothing about the outside. You don't know what the outside is. You don't know how this house looks from the outside because you don't even have a conception of outside. You've lived in that house all your life. Then suddenly, accidentally, for some reason, you are taken out and left in the street. Will you ever be able to come back to this house? It is impossible. Because now where you are, there is not a single sign that will help you to connect back to this place. What you were seeing, what you were experiencing is no longer there. Now you're in a completely different landscape. I mean, this happens to us all the time. It is only when we are in a familiar place we can trace the steps back. If we are blindfolded and taken to a new place, we are totally lost. That's what going out means. If you are a phenomenon that is coming and going, then every time you go out, then it is an absolute miracle that you are coming back. If your consciousness were to be an ephemeral side phenomenon, a byproduct of thinking, then every time you go to sleep, the chances of you coming back should be like 0.001%. Because there is no consciousness. And who knows where your thoughts are taking you? The question is, why are your thoughts always bringing you back to the experience of this body? Why are you waking up in the morning as yourself? Why are you not confused about who you are when you wake up in the morning? It's because consciousness is always there as the very foundation, the basic structure on which everything is happening. Thoughts are coming and going. In fact, your wakeful state and your sleep are simply two different ways of experiencing the same consciousness. It is still the experience of consciousness, but filtered through your thoughts. When you are aware of your thoughts, when you're interacting with your thoughts, you call it life. You call it wakefulness. When thoughts are doing their own thing, when you're not interfering with them, you call it your dream. But still, The central, most important feature of both these dimensions are not thoughts, are not dreams, the continuity of the phenomenon called you, which never breaks, which never cuts. The I amness is always the same. It doesn't vary. It doesn't go up and down. It doesn't increase or diminish. Depending on what you're doing in the world of thoughts, how attached you are to your thoughts and actions, you experience consciousness differently. And that again is just a perceptual difference. At the center of your being, consciousness is always the same. It doesn't even flicker. Now, how is it possible for us to confuse the most important thing, without which nothing can exist, with something that is a byproduct of thinking? How is it that we are confused about the most important aspect of ourselves and life and existence? It's because when you attach yourself to a thought, it temporarily disconnects you from reality. Thinking is a complete delusion. Because it is useful to us, we don't refer to it as a delusion. Because otherwise, we have to wake up every morning accepting that we have fallen into this dream again. We have fallen asleep again. Now I'm sleepwalking. In my sleep, I'm building my business. In my sleep, I'm taking care of my family. In my sleep, I'm worried about death. It just doesn't gel right. Even if you start with this idea, after a while, because it is such a basic idea, you drop it. You don't talk about it much. Only when you deeply, philosophically try to understand life will you come to this conclusion that yes, thought is a delusion, because it isn't real. But in our day-to-day experiences, for what we are doing in this realm, thoughts are as real as anything physical. In fact, thoughts are more physical than what we recognize as physicality. This is another aspect that is the problem of mind-body. Now, if we are the body, if we are physical, then what is a thought? Where is it coming from? Look at it this way. You are experiencing this sensation called physicality because of the sheer power of a thought. A thought is so powerful that it can move you. It can shake you. Everything that has ever been done in the world has been done by thoughts. Think about it. Think about it. Even that requires a thought. And we think thought is non-physical. See, either there is no such thing as physicality, or thought has to be the most physical of things. Because nothing moves things around like a thought. When you experience something, even a physical sensation, it is happening through a thought. Even to experience pain, you need a thought. It's only when we do not understand what a thought is in its totality, we see it as just a part of your thinking process. You have the body, which is physical, and you have thoughts which simply come and go. But in actuality, it is the exact opposite. the being, the self, is the seat of consciousness, which is non-physical, which is formless, which is shapeless, which means you can experience I amness without the body. Without that experience, there is no way to accept this, because you will have to rewrite everything you know about life. If you can experience yourself without the body, then what does that mean? That means your body is not something fixed. Your body does not occupy a specific space in specific time. Your body is an interaction. It is a phenomenon. It comes and goes when you want it to come and go. When you don't want to interact with the body, when you want to live in the world of your thoughts, you can altogether ignore the body, like the way you do in a dream. You can forget about it completely, which means you can exist on a plane where you don't need a body. That right there changes the entire story of who you are. Your thinking is not a byproduct of your physical sensations. You're not thinking because you have a body. You have a body because you think. It is the exact opposite. You perceive the body. You recognize the body because you have thoughts. You know how to think.